booster ignition, and the final liftoff of Discovery.
This
To the
is
dedication,
Florida.
hard work, and pride of America's space shuttle team.
Here, fun in the sun is a way of life. There's everything from water sports to golfing, from diving to nature watching. But Mike Iaconelli is an urban angler from Jersey. He's come to Pensacola on a mission, but not to surf, sun, or watch the blues. He's looking for great fishing. This is City Limits Fishing, Pensacola.
St. Louis, right there.
We sent a champion angler to some great cities on a mission.
They like you. They like you. Oh my God, I never seen one that big. Chicago River, within the city limits, and that's my limit! Yeah!
This is City Limits Fishing with Mike Iaconelli.
Pensacola is home to the Blue Angels and the world's most beautiful beaches.
I know Pensacola as being a beach town, a place where people come for the fun, the sun.
But there's no fun or fishing for us this day. The wind is blowing 20 to 30 miles an hour, and there are 8 to 10-foot waves in the Gulf of Mexico.
When those waves get to be that big, it's really dangerous. So we ended up postponing the day.
The next day, we arrived bright and early at the launch ramp.
You caught red snappers before?
So the forecast, everything looked great. We show up at the ramp, and it's still blowing.
The winds are out of the north at 10 to 15 miles an hour, and Escambia Bay is rough.
It looks bad, but it's a lot better than the day before, so we make a decision to go ahead and fish. Is 25 all right for leader material?
No.
No?
Chris Phillips is a local guide, writer, and tournament angler. He knows the waters well.
It's going to be a battle. We're going to fight the waves. We're going to fight the wind. This is not going to be a lot of fun.
Our challenge is to catch 4 red snapper, 2 grouper, and 1 bull redfish in 8 hours within the Pensacola city limits.
You know, we've got a pretty intense challenge this week. Different species, different size limits. It's going to be a tough thing to accomplish.
You ever caught a snapper in a bay before?
Never caught a snapper in a bay.
There's very few places in this whole world where you can catch a red snapper inside the bay, where we're watching cars drive by, where we're watching people going to work downtown.
The farther we get from shore, the rougher it gets.
By the time we get a half a mile from our spot, we're crashing in those waves, and it's bad. We're really getting beat up.
Chris watches the graph and his GPS. He knows the coordinates for some submerged structure that holds fish.
This particular spot is some pipes in Pensacola Bay. Huge round concrete pipes on the bottom. Big wave, y'all, hold on. Out of nowhere, huge wave comes, crashes over the bow.
A giant wave hits one of the camera guys and gets the camera totally soaked.
At this point, we're in big trouble.
I don't know a lot about cameras, but I can tell you a wet camera isn't a good thing. We make a decision to go all the way back to the ramp.
The cover didn't keep all the water out. We decide not to risk it. The camera needs to go to the shop.
We only have one good camera, but we usually use a third camera, a little hero camera, this little micro-looking thing.
We use this camera to get the shots you can't get with a big camera.
We're gonna try to make it work. We're gonna try, I don't know what's gonna happen. We're gonna see if this little thing actually works.
We're back at the spot, waves are up again. Finally, I get the spot just like I want it.
Chris drops the trolling motor. I get my rig ready.
We're using basically what we call bass fishing, a Carolina rig.
Under the lips and through the top.
But instead of using artificials, we're gonna use a lot of live bait and cut bait.
Chris struggles to keep us on the spot. These conditions are difficult.
We're cold, you know, we're getting wet from the spray. But more than that, it's about the boat positioning.
All right, we're gonna have to pull up and kind of start over. The trolling motor's having a real hard time keeping up because it's rough.
If you're not on that exact spot, if you're off by 5 feet, you're not going to get a bite. So already, we're not even an hour in, I can tell you that this is going to be a tough day. We idle back to the spot and drop our lines down again. The way we're fishing, the style we're fishing, this wind and the waves, they're killing us. We're having a rough time.
All right, let's pull on up and work right over there to another spot.
Okay.
We'll bounce around here till we find where they are.
So we make a short run to some nearby structure. We don't go far. We maybe go about another mile. We use live bait, cut bait, and shrimp.
Right, hold on 1 second.
So we're 2 spots in, not a single bite. We're cold, we're wet, we're miserable. We decide that we're going to go to one of his premier spots. The 2 to 4 foot seas make for rough running. We head west from downtown, across Escambia Bay, towards the Pensacola Naval Air Station. Chris gets in position, puts the trolling motor down. I drop down, and I mean literally on my first drop, I get that bite, rod tip goes down, I set the hook. Oh my God, the rod tip's bent, I'm fighting this thing. Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, relax. I get up to the boat, I'm looking, I'm like, I don't see any red. I'm expecting a red snapper. I'm like, that looks like a largemouth.
Keeper grouper.
Yeah!
Oh, yeah.
Look at that thing. Man, should I lift it?
I wouldn't lift it.
On my first drop, we get to the spot, and I got a big grouper. That's a keeper grouper?
Yep, they only got to be 22 inches. He's probably 24, 25
Nice.
inches.
All right. Oh, go back. Go back. Tell your friends we want more. Yeah.
Sport fishing?
Yeah.
I don't know sport fishing. It's good.
It's good. There you have it. Chris Phillips and I are fishing for a slam in Pensacola, Florida. We're just over an hour into the day, and we've caught 1 keeper grouper.
Nice. All right.
I put a croaker back on my hook, and Chris quickly gets us back on the spot.
All right, go ahead.
So all of a sudden, you know, we went from being cold, wet, and miserable to all of a sudden now we're excited. You know, we feel like we might be on something.
Baby grouper.
Immediately, Chris gets bit. The rod's down, he's just muscling it up, and I'm like, what the heck? Holy crap, he's got something big on here. Man, that was quick. That was like an instant drop, wasn't it? Oh, big snapper? Big grouper? What do you got there?
I'm thinking snapper. Not a snapper.
Big snapper? Hold on, let me get the net. I'm looking, all of a sudden I see it. I see this giant streak of red in the water. Huh. I got one too! I got one with my left hand! Drop the net, I go over to this hand, I start fighting this fish. Hey, it's got me on my knees. I hooked it with my left hand. I hooked it with my left hand while I was netting that one. Oh, it's all over the place. It's pulling drag, Down on my knees, baby. You got me down with
Don't let him get you now.
Is there something to get caught in down there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't let him get to the bottom.
That's fighting him wrong. Fighting him like a big smallmouth.
We're halfway to the limit.
Oh my gosh, look at that thing. Should I lift that one?
No, don't, no.
Lift that one. All of a sudden, we've got 3 keepers. Unbelievable. I mean, look at the red color on these fish.
Did you believe you could catch these on a bay?
I cannot believe it. On light tackle, too. This is unbelievable.
All right, let's get them in the water.
All right, let's get them back.
There he goes, back to his spot.
It's really hard for me to believe that you can catch this kind of fish, this quality of fish, right downtown, right in the middle of the bay. This spot is hot. I quickly retie my line so I can get back in the water fast. And all of a sudden, I see Chris pull up the trolling motor. Do we really want to do that? I feel like we should stay here.
I know if we stay there, we could probably finish out our snapper limit.
When you get a spot and you catch them that quick, they're telling you that there's the mother lode is down there. But Chris wants to give the spot a rest and come back to it later. We run a short distance west from the Naval Air Station to Fort Pickens. It's a Civil War-era military fort built to defend the city. Pensacola is one of the oldest settlements in America, and it's known as the City of Five Flags.
France, England, Spain, United States, and I don't know the fifth one.
It's the cradle of naval aviation and home to the Blue Angels.
Pensacola is about relaxation and having fun.
Pensacola has a thriving cultural scene.
We have a major opera, symphony, we have theaters.
But above all, Pensacola is known for having the world's whitest beaches.
It's white, like sugar, and it's soft, but it doesn't stick to you like other sand.
The Gulf of Mexico provides a rich harvest of seafood for area restaurants.
This is a local flounder, caught in about 80 feet of water.
Okay. Chef Dan Dunn sautés the flounder until it's golden brown. He sautés clams, adding key spices.
A little cilantro.
Then he adds fresh chorizo and lets it cook to a boil. He places the flounder on some grits and covers it with clams.
That smells really good. Sauteed flounder over stone ground yellow grits with cedar key clams. Taste of Pensacola Beach.
Chris maneuvers the boat, trying to put us directly over the structure and the fish.
This is precise fishing, man. You gotta be right on the juice.
This is a boat that we're fishing on right here. Yeah. So yeah, it's a boat about the size of this one, so we ain't real close.
We have live pinfish, croakers, and shrimp in the bait well.
Well, we're using bait here, and man, this stuff is like candy for these fish.
Chris is using menhaden, filleted butterfly style. Both of us are using circle hooks. It's a great hook from the conservation standpoint. You know, when you hook a fish, they're barely ever gut hooked. You're going to be able to get it out of their mouth and let that fish go alive. We work our baits on the bottom near the wreck. Quickly, Chris hooks up. His rod's doubled over. He's fighting. I drop my rod, I get the net.
We're working our way to that limit.
Man, that's a good one too. It's a nice snapper.
Another keeper red snapper.
All right, that leaves us with one to catch. One more snapper, and we'll have our snappers for the day.
They say it's a good place to come too if you've got like clinical depression and stuff that you get.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that true?
I've heard that.
Man, I'm in the perfect place because I'm always depressed. I'm from New Jersey. It's depressing in New Jersey.
Chris Phillips and I are fishing for a slam in Pensacola, Florida. We have 6 hours to catch 3 fish. The wind is dying down, and Chris has an easier time keeping us directly over the wreck.
Oh, God, come on.
We're getting bit. This is a great spot to finish our snapper limit. And all of a sudden, I look at Chris, and he's like, let's go, next spot, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, really? We just got here, I'm ready to get bit again. We start pulling up our lines, and Chris gets bit.
I got our 4 snapper on the line. Wind him to the top. In the boat, we got our snapper limit complete. Well, that rounds out our snapper.
That was pretty easy.
This is unbelievable. Chris releases the snapper. Suddenly, we realize we have a problem. We're expecting this wind to start dying down, and it's really not happening. It's still blowing. The waves are still big. Big waves hurt our ability to catch big redfish. But it's hurting us because we can't see the birds. And if we're going to catch a redfish, we've got to see the birds.
I was worried that because it was still rough, that it wouldn't lay down and I wouldn't have a chance to chase the birds.
So instead, we race to the pass and try to catch reds on the bottom. But our window of opportunity is rapidly closing.
Tide's gotta be right. If the tide ain't right, we'll just come back into here and come later. But
Gotcha.
let's hope for the tide being right and go and knock us out of bull red.
The pass connects Escambia Bay and the Gulf of Mexico. This opening is where the reds come into the bay.
And the pass is Pensacola's gateway to the bay.
And it's really kind of a funnel for fish. We have an incoming tide, so we set up on the Gulf side of the pass and drift into the bay.
We drop the bait all the way to the bottom, and then we just let the bait drag.
When we finish a drift, we do it again, and again, and again. I'm trying to be real patient here, but it's just not happening, you know, and it's getting a little bit boring, you know. As long as it's rough in the bay, this is our best chance to catch our redfish. But we don't get a single bite, so we leave.
That was really risky considering what the weather was doing. We just didn't know what was going to happen at that point.
We run to some fuel docks. This looks like a fishy spot. I get in front of another piling, I throw over there, and as I'm reeling it in, all of a sudden, I get a bite. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, set the hook. I got one, I'm reeling it. I swing it in, I look down. I'm like, what the heck is that thing? That's a wild-looking fish. And it's a puffer fish. It's a weird-looking puffer fish with these giant lips. Oh, there he goes. There he goes, he's puffing up. It's puffing up. Look at that. It doesn't count for a limit. But I like these puffer fish. They make me laugh. We fish a little longer, and all of a sudden, everything changes. You know, the wind's starting to die. We look at our watch, we're about 3.5 hours into the day. This could be it. This could be the time we make our move, we get back out into the bay, and we catch that big redfish. We run back toward downtown. The bay is getting calmer, but we don't see any birds working. So we stop at the killer spot where we caught fish earlier. We both drop down instantly. I mean, like magic. Chris gets a bite, sets the hook.
Reeling my grouper up, coming up. We get him netted. Oh, it's our grouper.
Another keeper grouper. That's our limited grouper. At the same time, I'm sitting here admiring it. My rod goes down. Up, I gotta set the hook.
Oh, bring him on. Oh, what you got?
The picture looks like another grouper.
Yep, you got a grouper.
There's a smallmouth bass.
I got another grouper. That was even a little better than this one.
And another grouper. Sure that's not a smallmouth? No, that's a grouper.
No, that's a grouper. 5.5 hours into the day, we got our limit of snapper. We got our city limit of grouper.
Why do they call grouper?
Because they swim in groups.
This is Mike. Check out my book, Fishing on the Edge, and you'll learn why I never give up. For more information on clothing, gear, and equipment used on the show, go to MikeIconelli.com. Chris Phillips and I are fishing for a slam in Pensacola, Florida. We have our limit of snapper and grouper. We just need to catch a redfish. Instead of leaving to catch a bull red and complete our city limit, we idle back to fish for fun.
And I'm pulling back up there, and all of a sudden, I see Ike slip a line over maybe about 20 foot off the spot. I don't think anything of it.
And all of a sudden, like magic, that rod just starts going like that. And I set the hook, and I start cranking, Uh-oh, what is this? That's a big one, man. I can't get any ground on this fish. He's just bulldogging me. That ain't no snapper. I'm sweating, I'm getting nervous, my heart's pounding.
Got him or what?
No, he's got me, brother. I don't have him.
Don't give him any slack.
I'm bulldogging him. I'm afraid I'm gonna pop it. Finally, I'm gaining ground on this fish. I look down, I'm like, what the heck is that thing?
That's our bull red. That's our bull red.
and I just freak out, man. I just lose it. I'm yelling, I'm screaming. I just have it. Oh my God!
And before I know it, I'm holding Ike. He gave me a huge man hug.
And I kind of look at Chris, and he's like, I kind of see that look like, whoa. And Chris, I apologize for the man hug, but man, I've never caught a fish like that. It was giant.
God, that is a fish. Look at that thing.
Catching a fish like that's an accomplishment, but letting it go, that's an even better feeling. God, thank you, baby. Thank you, sweetheart. That was unbelievable. Oh my God, look at the size of that. There she goes, there she goes.
We got our city limit. We got all three: snapper, grouper, redfish.
What a place. We decide to stay here and have fun fishing. Before long, we have the camera crew and the guys on the chase boat fishing too. You know, to see their faces, to see rods bent over, to see these guys catching fish they never caught before in their life, this is what it's all about. With an hour left, we run around the bay searching for reds on the surface. There are some birds diving, but we don't see a single red. We call it a day.
But now it's slick calm. We get all our stuff together. Me and Mike head right back to the boat ramp we came from. Sun at our back. Things were perfect.
Some lows, some highs, and a lot of big fish. Fishing in Pensacola, I don't think it gets any better than this.